Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Berlinale Talents this afternoon. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming to the talk, Empathy for a Monster in Genre. I need to apologize, or we need to apologize. Hanna Bergholm is unfortunately sick. She cannot attend this talk today. She sends her warm regards, and she's very sad, but we also received a couple of questions, and we had a very long preparation talk, so Paula, our moderator, will kind of make her present on stage, because we also know her thoughts and her ideas, so we try to bring her to you and represent her as good as possible for you. So nevertheless, I'm super happy to invite Edwin and Paula on stage. Edwin has been, as much as Hanna, an alumnus of Berlinale Talents, so he's presenting his film Sleep No More here in Berlinale Special, while Hanna was representing her film 2 days ago in the competition. And yeah, I'm happy and looking forward to the talk. Thank you very much. Have fun.
Thank you very much. It's been snowing outside, very cold, so of course people get sick, but happily, Edwin, you're feeling okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
That's fantastic. So thank you everyone also for making it here. Edwin, your work spans genre cinema, dark comedy, social critique. Your film, Vengeance is Mine, All Others Pay Cash, from 2021, which we will show in a bit, won the Golden Leopard at Locarno. And basically you've established yourself as a bold voice in contemporary Asian cinema. And this year you're coming to Berlinale with your new film, Sleep No More. I'm gonna ask in the audience, who has seen the film already? Please raise your hands. Okay, so a few of you were lucky. The others not yet. After this talk, you probably will run and try to get a ticket, because it's a very, very special, very great film. We're gonna be talking a lot about it. Just a bit of context on what we're going to talk about. So we are going to be talking about genre cinema, but we're especially going to be talking a lot about your work, Edwin. And we really want to get nitty-gritty and hear about how you do your films, how you create this very special atmosphere, this atmosphere that makes the audiences feel a certain way. But I want to start a bit general and ask you what you think, what is for you genre cinema? Like, do you consider yourself genre filmmaker?
Yeah, okay. But first I would like to also introduce my producer, Meiska Taurisia, who also
please stand up.
Alumni of Berlinale Talents, 2000, yeah, a long time ago. And then also Akiko Asisawa, the cinematographer, who worked with us for this film Sleep No More, and then also the Vengeance is Mine, All Others Pay Cash. So yeah, so maybe we can, if some of you would like to know some kind of anything from both of them too, that's also open for discussion. Back to your points about the genre, yeah. When I was in film school, I thought genre is very rigid. I would say it's like there are rules that you have to follow in order to be called as horror or melodrama or action. But back then I didn't really think it's liberating as a art form. So that's why I prefer to do it more experimental, and even like I don't really care about the duration. So I prefer to shoot a short film better than feature film, because I always afraid to face that I have to deal with this kind of boxes of genres. So it can be scary, to work inside the frame of this genre. But then then after, couple of films, I think it's also challenging for me to explore to that direction. And the first attempt was actually my third film. It's a love story. It's a drama film with it's supposed to be like a proper 3-act structure, boring structure that I thought before. And I think I found some kind of fun thing to do with the genre, where you can actually play around with the rules, and it's still be able to bend it and mix it up with something else, which I found in my latest 3 films since Vengeance is Mine, already Pekes until now. I think it's very, very inspiring motivation to explore the language of cinema, playing with the expectation of the audience with specific genres, but still flexible. It has some kind of flexibility with mixing other genre.
Yeah, that makes sense, because you say that you found a playful way of dealing with it. Because we had a conversation on Saturday also with Akiko, and you were telling about how you like to find your own ways also of creating certain stuff, right? You brought us some clips from the BTS, so the making of, the behind the scenes of Sleep No More. And I think maybe it would be really nice to watch these clips so that we see a bit of like how it is how you're actually on set creating these scenes. And we have one scene that will also show us how the scene looks at the end. So you will be seeing how the scene was, how the special effects were done, and then you see how the scene looks at the end in the film. Should we watch it and then we'll discuss? Yes, perfect. So if we could have the BTS. Edwin, we were discussing the other day about the difference between using VFX effects in the post-production and using the effects, like analog effects, so to speak, on set. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that, like your preference, or maybe when is one maybe more, for a scene maybe better than the other, and like your personal approach to it?
Okay, so before this film, I did another film which is quite heavy also with the effects, but more like with the CGI and digital effects. It was quite painful. The CGI part was really, really tough. So I think I want to make a film that are more, tangible. You can really react on the action. So with Sleep No More, we decided to avoid as much as possible with the involvement of the digital CGI. It took us, with the CGI, it seems like everything you can do it as long as you have imagination and money, of course. But it took, I found now when I also finished with this film with a lot of practical effects, which also not so easy, but I prefer to work with this kind of method where everybody are involved, everybody knows what they are doing. Less green screen. I don't like green screen. It's too frustrating. So yeah.
Interesting. Can I ask you a little bit? Because I think it's kind of fascinating, when you see this behind the scenes with the green screen, and you see people doing things, and what are you saying? Like, they don't know what they're doing, and they don't know how it's going to look. So would you say it's more fun to have the actual things? And like, maybe, is it the work with the actors? Maybe it's something that changes for you?
Yes, it's definitely more fun. It is challenging, yes, but definitely way, way more fun and more memorable. There are a lot of satisfaction when it's done properly. And and with the actors, especially with this kind of story where there are characters that has to interact with something like creature, like the monster. I'm sure, I believe they got more easy response to like for acting. They can look at the eye of this monster. They can really run. You know, they can just pull the hair. It's a lot of energy that are going into perfect, perfect timing and perfect everything.
Yeah, that makes sense. You were telling me before that, for Sleep No More, it's not just horror, but also dark comedy, that elements that you were playing in this film. And that, because you just said, it's fun to do these things, and sometimes there's a certain comedy to the scene that we just saw when she's like, it's funny, right? So like, how is the balance for you between this like dark comedy and horror? How far do you feel you can go, or how does it feel to be silly within the genre of horror?
Yeah, I grew up with this kind of movies in Indonesia. I saw a lot of Indonesian horror films. Most of the time, they can be scary, disgusting, violence, but always there is some comedic release in some of the small sequences. So for me, it's a normal thing to combine these two genre elements where mystery mixed with humor. I think I also heard or read in some magazines about Jordan Peele, if you are familiar with this filmmaker from America, Jordan Peele, who did Know Us, and he's a very good comedian. He told us that the difference between comedy and horror is just music. So that makes sense that we have this kind of mixture.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What would you say is the reactions of the audience to this mixture? Would you say there's cultural? We'll go a bit more on cultural stuff later, but just specifically about the comedy, like would you say this comic relief is something that the audiences are thankful for? Maybe sometimes when you're very tense and when scared, and then it's like a bit of a haha. Or how would you say it helps maybe the audience find a way into your film and into what you want to say?
You mean the reaction here in Berlin?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Well, how was the premiere?
Yeah, because we haven't screened it here in Indonesia. I was quite, I would say, not surprised, but was like quite excited to see, to wait for the response of the audience. And that scene, the dog scene, it's for us, for me. When I wrote that scene, is the first, like a marking point, if the comedy works or not. If the audience will not have, response, like a small laughing, then I feel sad.
Right.
But apparently, 3 days ago, for the world premiere, people laughing. So I'm kind of, relief.
I'm very happy to hear. Well done, the ones of you that were there. And then, so going further into the genre, the other film, the film that won Locarno, Vengeance is Mine, All Others Pay Cash, this was action, not horror. I think it would be nice maybe to see the clip and talk a little bit about that. What do you think? Shall we do that?
Yes.
Great. So could we have the trailer of Vengeance is Mine, All Others Pay Cash, please? This was, as we said, the one 2021, right? Yeah. Edwin? Yeah, 2021. And that was the Locarno. So this film, what you were talking about, Maisky, your producer, and Akiko, your DOP, and this film was also produced by them, and you work with Akiko. It's so beautiful when you have a team of people, and you can keep working with them and you trust them. We were discussing about this film the other day, that this was shot in film, like analog film. Would you like to tell us a little bit about your choice, working, like what's your preference in terms of working digitally and with film? You know, what are the differences maybe for you, and like, yeah, your preference, but also like how you approach the work?
Yeah, the film, the Vengeance is Mine, All Others Pay Cash, was shot on 16mm entirely. It's been a while since the last Indonesian film was shot on celluloid. So most of the crew has no experience in working with celluloid, the young crew especially. But there are some that are like my generation. Obviously, we still play around with that medium, and it really brings back a lot of energy that are breaking the routines of cinematography, for example, because there's a lot of mysterious area that need to be explored with this new medium. Well, it's not new, but
retro.
instead of digital that are already become normal medium for mainstream filmmaking, this old 16mm method become new medium, which is bring a lot of new energy for the whole crew, for the whole cast. Who most of them doesn't. For example, the actors, the main actors, Ajo Kawir is young and he never shoot with film, so it's different kind of disciplines. So that brings a lot. I mean, when we are doing art or filmmaking, we try to find an area that is seems like dark, like not unexplored yet. That brings us adrenaline and interesting ideas and imagination, because we don't know yet what's the result of and it's as filmmaking. Using 16mm, you shoot the film, you don't know what's going to be, look at the visuals.
You don't have or do you have dailies when you're shooting in 16? Like, do you have do they get developed in the night? I don't know, because I've never shot in film. So. And
Normally you should have like a dailies. Okay. But the thing is, in Indonesia, we don't have any film lab anymore. So because this is a co-production with Japan, and Akiko is from Japan too, so we shoot the film and bring the exposed film every 5 or 7 days to Japan.
Wow.
So we don't have dailies. Yeah.
Right. So you're shooting for 6 days and you don't know. And if there's a mistake or something, like...
No, we are free. We are free.
That's a good way of putting it. You're free. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the one of the memorable experience for me, and also same with the VFX that I mentioned before. It's so tangible, even though you don't see right away the result. You believe in something. That kind of trust is really important in making film, because I think back with the concept of creating confusion and chaos.
Yes.
There's too much chaos in filmmaking, and we need some kind of trust and tangible things. And film, like 16mm or 35mm, definitely, something that you can count on. Yeah.
I think it's so beautiful, and I agree. I mean, again, I'm a filmmaker myself, but I've never worked in film, never had the money. But I think a lot of filmmakers appreciate what you're saying, the energy that it brings, the tangibility of it, but also the concentration from the whole crew. No, I think what you're saying, like creating like creating a film is not only creating the film, but creating the whole process around it and having a team. And I recently shot a one shot, which is, you know, something different, but I felt a little bit this feeling of like the whole team is a bit tense because, you know, it's not like, okay, another take. It's like, no, we don't have that many takes because every take is, you know, it's either expensive because you're shooting in film or like it's a lot of work. So like, don't fuck it up, you know? So I think it's super fascinating. And what about the final product? You know, so obviously this was a process, but for you, like visually, what do you feel you gained from film or not?
Yeah, it's different, totally different. With digital, of course you can get noises, you know, still, but as you know, it's just a tiny pixels, like box, very, you know, patterned, like squares. Nothing, no chaotic portrayal of image. With the film, you get this, you know, chaos with the green, you know, especially in highlight in the darker area, which creates something very, very organic that helps to, you know, to bring some kind more imagination for the audience. I think that's the most important, at least from my experience watching films shot on celluloid. But the best thing is I still really, if there are some, you know, opportunity to watch on 35mm projection, it's the best. And it's just different. Yeah. Maybe because I'm used to with, you know, that era. It's not nostalgic, but it's just different. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think there is in the Berlinale, there's always some films being shown in 35mm, I believe, and I know that all of the projectionists are always very happy. I mean, the ones that still know how to do it, because some new projectionists obviously haven't worked; they just work with the DCPs. But actually, also the process of putting the roll and all of this, it's like there's something definitely nostalgic also about it, but it is a different experience, and. Because I think it's also interesting just to close this very technical. I'm not sure if everyone is so into the technical, but just to close it, for Sleep No More, you did shoot digitally, but you had this process in the post-production where you put it into film. Now, do you want to tell us briefly how this process works? Because I find it quite interesting.
Yeah, it's a process that disturbs the stereo looks of digital image by you transfer every frame, the DPX files, to the strip of 35mm celluloid. So and then when every frame is already transferred or printed on the film, we scan it again back to digital. To get the characters, the texture from the film, the additional texture that, you know, mixed between digital characters. So it's not totally 100% analog, but not 100% digital too. It's like the monster.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's a hybrid monster. That's so interesting. I was sitting yesterday at actually the Dine and Shine event from Talents, and I sat with a colorist, and he said, he's this very nerdy colorist, and he said he was able to do the same thing with the color without using the film. So I'll put you in touch, just in case. I would love to go a little bit away from the very nerdy technical details now and go a bit more into the background of the cultural background maybe that also informs your work and the genre. And I would like to start talking about Hanna Bergholm. She, as we said, she's sick, so unfortunately she can't be here. But she did tell us a little bit about her approach. She's presenting the movie Nightborn. Who watched Nightborn? Okay, a few of you did. Fantastic, great. For the ones who didn't see it, this is so Hanna is Finnish, and she had her debut feature, Hatching, in 2022, and this one premiered at Sundance and became kind of Finland's highest grossing film of that year. So great achievement. Wait, sorry, I have a lot of notes that I'm not going to go so much into detail right now. But yeah, this time she's returned to Berlinale competition with Nightborn. She's continuing her examination of taboo subjects around motherhood, family, societal expectations through genre filmmaking. But she herself said that she didn't necessarily see herself as just genre filmmaker, right? Like she was using these conventions, a bit what you were saying, Edwin, like using the tools, the language, the conventions, playing with the expectations of the audience in order to create a feeling, but that sometimes subvert it as well. So let's watch a clip from her film Nightborn, and I think it's interesting because it really shows me coming from like Spain, that is like South Europe. For me, this image this clip that we're gonna see shows very much the Nordic, like Northern European, society feeling. So let's watch it and then we can talk about it. So the clip from Nightborn, please. Yeah, I was saying I find this, to represent very good this kind of like social situations, maybe in Northern Europe, because it's a lot about, now I'm going to be a bit judgy, you can have another opinion, but it's, very much the appearances and like, how you're supposed to behave and being nice to each other and then like the contrast of this like, oh, we're all having a great time here, everything is good, with the fear and the darkness coming from the forest, right? And I think a lot of the folklore, of like the horror folklore, I'm gonna call it, from Europe has this, has to do with the forest, with the darkness of the forest and this darker mythological creatures, possibly. I wanted to ask you, Edwin, what you feel about like do you feel like Indonesian cultural folklore stories are informing also in a way your films, or how much do you feel like you use those references, if at all?
Yeah, I think the cultural references, it's something that is already embedded in your, in your process, your creative process. Mm-hmm. I mean, storytelling has been, I think we as a filmmaker has already confronted or involved with the storytelling culture since we were very young. Although there are a lot of things that we don't really get the context or the statement of the fairy tales, but it lives in your subconscious apparently, and in Indonesia, when I live in Java, there's a lot of mystical story fairy tales, even though it's for children, it has some dark elements in it. Mm-hmm. So it's basically you cannot really separate the cultural references. But I think it's also not easy to create something that is not really related to your cultural background. Mm-hmm. But as I saw this clip from Finland, right? Yeah. Which is very far from Java, Indonesia. But it has some kind of same air, same similarity in the atmosphere, mm-hmm. where I can easily connect. So maybe we can argue that those mystical or mystery or unknown area is also embedded in our global culture. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's maybe something that connects us, like the fear. I mean, it's such a basic human feeling, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Absolutely. And I think what's interesting, also a connection between your work and Hannah's work, is that you're not only using the fear and these feelings just for the sake of entertainment. I mean, as well, of course, but not only. I feel like there's other layers in your films that are socially critical. I mean, with Sleep No More, obviously, there's a critique on capitalism, exploitation, and yeah, I think it's interesting because a lot of times we do speak about how horror films do have this layer of being socially critical. I think sometimes we exaggerate it. I think certain films, they're actually, maybe you can read between the lines, but it's like, well, it's also just fun and entertainment, and it's okay. But I feel in your film it's very clear. How would you feel? How do you feel you balance like everything that we've been talking about, a bit of like the dark comedy and the light scenes with the horror and fear, but then also with all this like social critique?
I feel I don't really do consciously try to balance it.
Mm-hmm.
It's I try to, yes, there are some kind of tools, we can say, from the genre aspect that you can play around, explore it. But there's also strong instinct as well that are useful to be followed, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, mixing different genre can be also dangerous. That can lead to something confusing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but I think if I have some kind of something that to hold on, which is instinct and the cultural references, it helps. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't think I have the answer of how to do the balancing part, because technically it's just a lot of editing in the script and also in the post production.
Yeah.
Technically, it's just you always keep questioning and trying to move around this bit and asking a lot if this thing is too much or not. Yeah, just normal process.
Yeah, with the process, you were telling me the other day that your script version is actually shorter than Akiko's script version. So would you say that for you the film like becomes in the process, like when you arrive to set, do you feel like you know exactly what everything is going to be, or how much do you react to to the actors or to the situation, or there's always like time constraints, budget issues, like how would you say, like how much do you allow for the film to evolve in the process?
I think I came from experimental films before, so there's a lot of uncertainty from the script.
Yeah.
That maybe it's useful to start the project, but there are a lot of problems and involvement from other aspects like nature, rain, schedule, budget. Those kind of problem is part of the tools that shape the film. So I think I always put myself together with the whole crew, the producer as well. We try our best to prepare, with script, with location, with rehearsals and a lot of maybe storyboards.
Mm-hmm.
But if we found something interesting during the shooting, we will fight to let's take that, the chance to explore to something new direction even. For example, actually, there in the film maybe not 100% shot from the script.
Okay.
Yeah, the sleep number.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Not 100%. And it was decided even when we were still have time doing the shooting, and we decided and we discussed it. I think we don't have to shoot this scenes. Let's change into something else, because we found something more interesting, for example.
That's very interesting. It's not very common, I would say, as a producer, that a director says like, no, I don't need this. Usually, directors are like, no, I need this and this and this and this again. So it's interesting when you can have the flexibility and realize in the process, okay, I might not need this. I think I would like to watch another clip, the one with the flying, because I think it's a fun one. And okay, no worries.
Okay.
Okay, well, at least we already saw some. So you all are gonna have to go and watch the film because it's a really fun scene that we were gonna watch. So you all need to figure out, you need to get tickets. But yeah, it doesn't matter then. I think I wanna open to questions now. So you're gonna have your chance also to let us know comments if you have comments on what we've been saying, opinions, but also of course you have the chance to ask questions. Now it's always so exciting to be. I mean, the fun part of being at a festival is that you get to speak to the filmmakers and the creators. And we're also very lucky to have Akiko here. And Meiske might have disappeared, but... Oh, no, she's over there. Okay, great. So I'll open to questions in a sec. I think I wanted to go back a little bit to or following this process, a bit on post-production, because you were talking about the music. You said, difference between comedy and horror is the music. And we saw, I think, in this clip from Hanna, how the music is really setting the tone, right? Because you could have those images and put like a happy, I don't know, summer tune, and it would be a complete different feeling for the audience, obviously. I was wondering how much of the music and the sound design you plan in advance, or not, or maybe how much work is in the, like you first shoot it, and then in the sound design process with your person working there, like how much do you work on? Yeah, how does it work?
I think I like to explore the music in the beginning before shooting. So I had quite intense conversation with the music director, Hiroyuki from Japan. So I sent the script, and then Hiroyuki, without, too much information from me, I want him to freely interpret the script first and give me, different kind of music to start the conversation. Of course, we little bit talk about what kind of style that we love to do in terms of the image, and I think also important that he knows the rhythm and the practical effects that we want to achieve. We watched same film, for example, talking about John Carpenter's film, for example, part of our discussion, if I remember, and then also something that is not really related to horror films, which is anime, that you can get from the film. There's a lot of like a progressive rock touch in the film. So basically, it's not like, again, not 100% I know in what kind of direction I want to do, but to have this kind of opportunity to discuss based on free interpretation, it's also helping me to rewrite the script, because I also co-write the script. So during this conversation or discussion with the music director, I expect I will, do some kind of revision for the next draft to get some more, clear idea. So exploring those opportunity with the with other crew, it's really valuable in order to know what kind of film that invite us to.
Well, that's interesting. So maybe just to clarify, so you work with a created score for the film, and not necessarily so much with with licensing with music, or
Yeah, it's a original score.
all original score. Yeah, fantastic. Nice. Okay. Do we have some questions from the audience? I see a hand over here. I'm sure there will be a mic coming. So,
yes. Hi, I'm Leon. I'm from Switzerland. I saw your film once at Locarno, so thanks for that. I have a question. I would like to know if you could explore a bit more the political aspect of genre and what for you the monster means, because I think you have a very political underlining tone in your film, and why you choose genre to tell political messages. Why for you that is important, especially nowadays as well, and if that changed, or if you still see the potential in that, and in not maybe making socially totally realistic films to transport these messages. Thank you.
So why genre? Why horror? Who's the monster, and why is this a good way of doing a political critique? Instead of maybe doing something that is way more realistic and maybe showing more like having a drama.
I think if I have to rewind the process, I would still do this film with this kind of approach. I think the genre, the horror, is perfect for the situation right now in Indonesia, where everything is so terrible. I would say it's a lot of things in our everyday life can be more scary rather than the horror, like the Kubrick films, for example. So to tell the statement or the thoughts that are, I think maybe it's too serious to share with realistic approach, for example, then I would love to bring this conversation through form that is more entertaining or fun way to start with, to begin with. Even I think it's better even if it's more dreamy rather than straight to the point on the statement itself. Because nowadays, I think people are too tired, I guess, with a lot of, news on difficult times everywhere in the world, and movies, as usual, in the difficult times, always has kind of escapism. So that we also want to be in different world, but still connected to our contemporary problems. So it's not like direct mirror, but subconsciously you can, reflect on it. Yeah.
I love that. If I may add to what you just said, I think in the example of Vengeance is Mine, you're also talking about violence, but using action film, which also is a way of of using the genre to talk about something in a way that is more like that it's easier maybe for the audience to connect to it, but also reflect on their own, right? Because there's somehow some joy in that. I mean, action films are violent and we enjoy them, right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting then to use that as a critique of violence.
Exactly.
No?
I mean, with Vengeance is Mine, because we talk about toxic masculinity, where a lot of problem created by this kind of culture of machismo. But if I make it like a direct translation into the machismo, maybe it will make the audience off a little bit, like, you are too loud, or you are.
Yeah, and it wouldn't reach the people you want to reach, maybe.
Yes,
no?
yes. But with this, the treatment that we did, it helps. I mean, because this is a movie. This is not real.
Yeah.
But in like in dreams, even though we know it's not real, but it really affects yourself effectively.
Absolutely, and I think you were talking about Jordan Peele before, and I think there's a history of people that have experienced maybe like marginalization or discrimination or stigma, and then using these films in a way as almost as revenge somehow, and but to address topics such as everything, sexism, as you're saying, racism, and so on, homophobia, and then this is a way of maybe not preaching to the choir. I think it's very important sometimes to create films out of a community for a community. That's great, but also there's another strategy of creating a film that maybe has a more generic approach or possibility, and then you're reaching other people that possibly they would not be interested in a movie if the movie was this is a movie about sexism. You won't reach people that are sexist, and then not necessarily that. But yeah, I think it's something about reaching audiences not only in terms of clearly what people walk into the film, but also how do they feel when watching the movie. So yeah, I think you do a great work with that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do we have other questions? Yeah, I think here you were. Sorry, I don't see it. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Diko Forma. My question is almost, I'm happy that he asked the first question. It's like an addendum to the question he already asked, which is often with experimental filmmaking, genre filmmaking, I think it is possible for the message to be lost or misconstrued. And so I want to know if that is a consideration when you're making your film. It's that if your message are being passed across, or if it's lost in the, I don't want to say spectacle, but if it's lost in, in the entertainment value or in the abstract, in the experimental nature of the film. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's normal to have a film that are not really 100% transfer your statement or message, I will say, because it's not a propaganda. I mean, when we do a propaganda, you have to be really clearly, you will have the tools, to make sure that your message reach your audience. But this is film, this is cinema that has those kind of things that completely different with propaganda. I think message for me it's not something that is easily written in the cinema. It has. I prefer to use the word triggers. Everything that you are concerned about. And the cinema transfer this trigger to the audience that can, create some kind of discussion on their mind, their consciousness, their memory, which may be very different with ours, the filmmakers. I think we are. I believe that when the film is already consumed by the audience, then it's not ours anymore. So the message can be lost. That's okay. That's no problem. But I'm sure, since we are not doing a propaganda and pushing, or pushing our statement to somebody else, then it has I'm sure the audience will get something with the trigger that we create, trigger to have their own conversation.
Thank you. Yeah, great. Do we have? I think we had more questions over there. Yeah. I'm not sure who was first.
Thank you so much. I was wondering, because the title of the talk is The Empathy for the Monster, and we actually haven't really touched upon that at all. So I was wondering if you could turn the conversation back to the topic.
Thank you. I'll try to do my job. So the empathy for the monster, Edwin. How do you feel about the monster? Do you feel empathy for it?
I think the monster is the film. Yeah, I mean, when we talked with Hanna before that in our initial meeting, that are we working in this field of cinema? Do we know everything? Like 100%. I would say that we are working with the monster. We are creating the monster together in the whole process of filmmaking. We're creating from an image, from a memory that are usually came from our subconscious level, our fear, our trauma. Then I would say we are dealing with our monster. So yeah, that's what I got from this, the context of dealing with the monster.
Absolutely. I think that was exactly what we were speaking about, and Hanna also saying that at the end, the monsters is us, right? We are the monster, in a wide sense. Like we as a society, we as there are personal fears that become violent, or all of this different range. So I think I think what you were saying, Edwin, like really summarizes the question for that, or the answer to that question, which is like, maybe this is why we need film. Maybe this is why we use these genres to address those topics, because the empathy for, like, through the genre, through the magic of cinema, we are finding a distance to certain topics, because it's entertainment, because it creates emotions, but at the same time, that distance makes us reflect on ourselves. And that's like maybe what we bring out of the cinema, and like the compassion and the empathy is towards ourselves, and to find in the confusion, maybe to get to the topic of this whole talents program this year, in the confusion that maybe those feelings create and arise, that's where we can find compassion for the monster within us. And maybe that's the compassion. I would say it's something that can be an actionable feeling for change as well, because if we're like, I think there's several stages of grief and anger and stuff that are very important, and processing those emotions through film helps us process emotions in general, and then be able to move forward and take action, and not just stay in the fear. No, that would be my take.
Yeah, I mean, like take for example the Hanna's clip before. It's the boy, the baby.
The baby, yeah.
Yeah, film is our baby. We thought that we have some kind of projection of our own baby, but the baby itself is alive. It has its own life. It can be very different with our, expectation. It can be very scary, like the clip.
Like the baby.
So we are dealing with something that we don't know, and I think it's a fragile situation that we have, but yet we are doing it. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it's brave, no? Yeah, there's another question. And if you have you're very welcome also to comment on what you think, who the monster is, and how we can find empathy for them.
So I kind of have a follow-up question to that regarding the monster. For me, a monster is kind of a superlative of something or someone bad, and it's more or less defined by cruelty, and it's a being of fear. And fear mostly rises when you cannot fathom something fully, like you don't understand it, and then you maybe could not feel empathy for something you cannot understand. So my question really is, what for you defines a monster? And can it still be a monster if you understand it enough to feel empathy for it?
Interesting. We're getting psychological here.
Yeah, interesting. Could we feel the monster if we can
If we
find
understand,
empathy?
yeah, can we? Is it still, or do we deconstruct the monster in the moment that we understand it or that we feel empathy for it? I think would be the question, possibly.
Yeah.
I think it's a very philosophical question.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I agree that fear is the material, right, that we are exploring in the genre of horror, for example. Mm-hmm. And fear comes from something that we are not understood, something that we are not yet understood. We fear of fourth dimension creature. We fear of alien because we don't know them. That's true. So we call them monster. We put them this mysterious thing in one big box called the monster world. But in most of the monster film, like Godzilla, Frankenstein, we kind of understood these characters. They are all misunderstood. At the end, at the beginning of the movie, maybe we feel distance, we feel the fear, we scary of them. But through the journey of the film, we know more about them. Then the empathy, because I think human is very kind and very kind creature, and empathy is always there since it's part of our everyday life. Since we were young, we try to have empathy to any kind of things. That's why maybe when we were young, we are not afraid too much with a lot of things. We are more brave, I guess, because we are helped, or we helped by this empathy. Mm-hmm. So maybe the empathy for the monster, if the monster is part of our trauma and our fear ourselves, we need to empathy to bring out that empathy to ourselves in order to
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the examples that you were saying, like Godzilla and Frankenstein, it's monsters that are humanly created, like human created this, in the case of Frankenstein, like the pain or the horror that created the monster. So it's like maybe understanding also the source within, not so much to find like guilt, but more like to find the understanding, and then to, again, I keep coming back to this idea of like how do we action, like how do we move from there, how do we process these feelings in order to then be able to take action in a more positive way. That's my thinking or my projection, I would say, I think, yeah. What do you think? Any other comments or questions or feelings about monsters? Yes. Yeah, somewhere.
Hi, my name is Yeva, and I am an actress, so I have a question from sort of that perspective. When you're casting those morally complex characters or those monstrous characters, what kind of qualities are you looking for in the actor to be able to trust them to portray this?
Thank you. Interesting questions. Yeah, I think for the specific film like this, Sleep No More, I need to get connected with the actors in a very obvious, context. Where are we when we are talking about fear? of our past and our future. I think it's always interesting to know the fragility of the actors. I know actors are very fragile in front of camera. They have to, become themselves, but also they have to create a lot of expectation also. So it's really, really a monster itself, the actors. But I need to get some kind of, trust, and with this specific film, I would love to talk a lot about their fear, because I think that's very, not much opportunity for us to tell our story of, our fear. Sometimes we don't know what kind of fear that we are. Usually we don't want to go to that direction. We don't want to talk about fear, our fear. But in this kind of horror films, it's good time for us to dig in more into our own self fear. Yeah.
So would you say that vulnerability?
Vulnerability, yes.
Yeah, it's something
yes.
that you're searching for.
Yes, the vulnerability.
Nice. Yeah, makes sense. Do we have? Oh, we have 2 more questions. 3 even. Okay, let's get those 3 in. It's good. We have a chatty audience. That's wonderful.
I actually have a comment relating to the question that was asked before this one, the one about monsters, and if they still remain monsters if we completely understand them. And I think that yes, they do, because we're not just scared of something we can't control in the sense that we have to not understand it to feel that. But I also think we're scared of things we do know how they function, but we still know that they're inevitable. So I think there's parts in us, like urges or impulses, that we completely understand, but we're still scared of them taking over because we can't really control them and we feel that they're inevitable. So that's my opinion.
I like that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, if I can comment on that, I think it's very interesting because I think, and I might repeat myself, sorry about that, but I keep coming with the fact that, yeah, but once you, like, there are these things in ourselves that maybe we fear because we know they're not great or so, but then like accepting them is, again, I believe, a way to gain agency over that. So not let those things control us, but I think when you were saying, Edwin, like we tend to push certain things away, right? Because we don't want to accept them or have them true. And I think the moment that we look at them and without judgment, and we're like, okay, I have this feeling. It's not good or bad, it's just a feeling. How do I act on it? I think that's the moment that we take agency and then we become who we are through our actions. So we don't just react to a feeling, but we respond to an observation of ourselves. And I think that's one of the things that film can help us do, like process emotions and become ideally better people at the end of the day. Yeah. We had more comments or questions? Yeah.
Hi. My question was about your process in creating the monster for Sleep No More, and what was, I guess, the beginning of that process? Like, was it sort of the monster that you kind of created and then created the sort of story around it, or was it the kind of context and then sort of situating that monster within it? And sort of, just about your process in creating.
Yeah, creating the monster was really very fun process that we had. I remember this is the early discussion with the other co-writer, Eka Kurniawan, who I work with in Vengeance is Mine. He's more crazy than me. So we talked about how evil can be a human, and because we talk about this, how come children like 3 years old without any references of violence can be so cruel to animal, for example? What is the the recipe for disaster. And there are a lot of thoughts, but I think we are all agree that feeling of abandonment, that feeling leads to boredom, and then that simple idea of what if it can be dangerous. What if we take the eye of the cat, for example, which can happen for 3 years old to have that kind of mind. It's just a matter of empathy. Is it powerful enough to stop that thought, or not? So that kind of conversation leads into the idea of the monster. In the film, have you watched the film? Yeah. So yeah, the film is basically the monster is the friend of the boss, the villain, the Mariati, where this friend is feeling the abandonment, and it is but we also have the idea of creating the whole atmosphere in a wig factory, the hair factory. So it's just automatically let's create something cute, but can be scary as well with the hair. Therefore, there's the monster. But I also realized, I remember I do have some kind of childhood memory in my own house. When I was young, my father was medical doctor who was placed in very far island in the eastern part of Indonesia. It's the name of the village is Ternate. It used to be a small kingdom. And yeah, he stayed there for 4 years. So when he came back to join us again as a family, he brought me a photograph of scalp full of hair of deceased prince of this village. So it's like a head, but it's the head is like a.
How old were you?
I was maybe 4 or 5 years old.
It's a funny present for a kid, 5 years old.
Yeah, and that photo is still there in my house. Okay. And that it's not only the object, because the story my father told me, this hair grows. So every year they have this kind of ceremony to cut the hair. So I think that's also subconsciously came back to me when I'm doing this project. I didn't try to, to remember that feeling or, excitement or fear, but it came back, and now when I see the film, although I didn't told my production designer, I didn't told Akiko, but the image of the monster, it looks the same with the one that I saw when I was in my childhood.
It's very interesting. Thank you for sharing. So I think we have one more question.
I have a comment.
Comments, great, thank you.
Yeah, I'm Anne. I'm a performer, and I want to get back to the question of the monster, and if it's still a monster, if you understand the monster or something like that. And this the observation I made that the approach to horror, I'm very interested in horror. I'm a horror fan actually, but the approach to horror nowadays, or in this time, is totally different to the approach to horror in the past. And I think it's a new idea to even create more a monster more, or to make it more intense with the discovery, and that the directors or the people who work in the horror industry are really very keen to let the actors, and this is, leads me to the question of the actors, very keen that the people understand the horror and understand the trauma and understand the fear, and that this is even more, makes the film or the approach to the story even more intense, because you can go deeper. And I just remembered these, I don't know, interviews or stories from the films, I don't know, of the 80s, and they're great, but there are very often the effects like that I want the actors to be really shocked. I don't tell them that they will be shocked or something. I think it's still in the business that it's a kind of like, we create real jump scares. We want to really have the actors scared. But I think this it was just on my mind that you can go with the showing of horror and monsters even deeper when it's a thought. It's not a conclusion, but I think it's a very interesting approach to go deeper, and then you can show more. So I just want to share this because of what you all said here.
Okay. Yeah, I think I have a very short comment on that, because as an intimacy coordinator, I think, and as a producer, obviously, like having actors not consent to what is happening to them and having them walk into a scene not knowing that something is going to happen is absolutely not acceptable. Like, it's not ethical, and I think that should not. I know that this used to be practiced not only for scary or jump scenes, but also for other kinds of scenes, including sexualized scenes, and that is something that absolutely should not be part of our industry. I believe. So I think there's you are such a, like you were telling us about this, the special effects and how to create them and all of that. And I think that's the greatness about cinema, that you are creating an illusion with a technique. And there's, nowadays such a range of different techniques to create fear. You've been talking about the music, about so many different tools to create this thing. And I think like having, actors not know about what's going to happen to them. It's definitely not one technique that one needs or should be using these days.
I totally agree. I mean, that's why we are getting more interested in the horror. I mean, because first of all, maybe the world that we are living in is really
horrific.
It's very horrific, and it's really that's why any kind of monster or ghost or scary elements in horror works better right now, because it feels more real. It feels more, it's really connected. And then the thing with the jump scare, like you said, usually back then they just want to make like really loud scream, and so it's very out of nowhere, where the gesture. But now we want to see more from the actors, the different kind of response of fear, so we can connect to.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. I think if we would have one last question. Yeah. No, go for it, because I think
Thank you. The dog in the film, was that a trained dog? How did you do that?
It is our friend's dog. So the costume designer, she has this dog together with her husband. So this dog is not trained, but he's very close with my friend. So in the clip, the behind the scenes, the guy who was buried inside this box is he's the father of the dog. So, yeah. So that's why but it's it can only work one time. I think it take 5 takes, I guess. 5 takes. The first 4 doesn't work because the dog's still not really comfortable, with a lot of people. Akiko is doing the camera, the lighting man, But the 5th take was perfect. And then when I was, let's take one more for another options of, response from the dog. Doesn't want to do it again. He was like betrayed by the father, like, you asked me to play and then you throw me something. So I feel bad, yeah.
And maybe Edwin, because we talked about the horror in different stages, like how you've mentioned Godzilla, old horror movies, and obviously there's been we haven't. I mean, this was not about talking about all the different history of horror, but we have talked a little bit about other approaches. Where do you see the future of this genre going? Would you like to keep is this a genre that you want to keep exploring for yourself, or where is your journey going in this horrific world?
Yeah, I think still there. Yeah. Unfortunately, our world doesn't still show us solution that makes sense. So as long as there are problems involving, violence and fear, I think horror are still there for us to help us to face the craziness of our world.
That's wonderful. And do you want to share with us maybe that now you've had the premiere? Where's this film gonna go? Are you gonna be showing it also in Asia and Indonesia? And what's maybe your what's your wish maybe for where this film should go?
Yes. So it's gonna be screened in Indonesia. Maybe we are planning to do it on early June. So I'm so excited to introduce this kind of horror, because not most of the horror films in Indonesia are nowadays is more like a spiritual and set in a rural village, and this is something different. So I'm curious on what's gonna be the response from the mainstream audience in Indonesia. Well, also I hope it still travels into the other parts of the world, and always interesting to see different perspective on the film from the audience, and I learned much from that.
Fantastic. Well, then you all have still a chance to see the film. Please give me a big applause for Edwin. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's really good. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, so thank you very, very much. Thank you, Berlinale Talents, and thank you all for participating, and enjoy the rest of the program.